Be happy with what you have. Don't let somebody ever take that from you. The biggest mistake that I did was allow him to control that emotion on me when I should have just stood there and said, you know what? You can't have this. I was feeling good. I was looking good. You were feeling good. You were looking good. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. Don't let anybody ever take that, because that's giving them power. That power.
Hello. Welcome to another knowledge bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Cheri Kauffman. And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself. Please help me welcome Cheri with Empower Her. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
I'm Cheri Kauffman. I am 45 years old. I'm a mom of 5. They're all great kids. I am married, the oldest of 5. Came from like a really humble beginning, I guess, really didn't have much and kind of just worked my way up and wanted to be better than what I had. I mean, that's really a lot. I mean, besides my passions with like my obsession with Wonder Woman and Barbie and,
let's talk about that. What's the admiration behind that?
So for my Barbie I think it was because she could be anything. And I remember getting the dolls because I collect them. It all started out as holiday Barbies, but I just remember looking at them and I'm just like, wow, like they're just so pretty and their hair is perfect and their dress, and it's just different walks of life she's in. So, it kind of inspired me, as silly as it might be to some, that I could just do whatever I wanted. So I actually when I had my kids, I was just like, you could do whatever you want. If you want to be president, like I'll make the banners and we'll vote for you.
I love it.
So that was my Barbie. And then of course my Wonder Woman was having a troubled childhood. Early on, I realized that when Wonder Woman would go and do her spin, when Diana would do the spin into Wonder Woman, she escaped what she was in. So I found myself doing that as a little kid.
Wow.
And I would go out in the yard and I would just spin and I would just visualize this bright light just taking me to wherever it was. So it just kind of stuck with me, and she just became like really like a part of my personality. She was strong and she could handle anything, and I really admired that. And going into my Princess Diana obsession was just because she was just a genuinely kind person. And I just remember watching her whenever I'm like 16 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, gosh, like to be that type of person, to be the people's princess, to like have people respect you so much because of all the great work that you're doing. I just remember looking at that, like, I want to be that one day. So as I grew, it kind of like, I incorporated all 3 into what I was. I knew I could be anything. I could kick butt if I needed to. And I'm going to be a genuinely good person. I'm going to help people that can't help themselves. And that's just how that all came about. I just have all 3 of their personalities within just my little old self. And I just kind of, each one comes out as needed. As an adult, I see the hungry person, or I see the person that looks sad, and I'm a hugger. So, you got this random crazy woman with a mohawk running up to give you a hug because that's a Diana trait in me. Then you have someone who is being bullied in a sense, whether it be work or I see it out in public, or see a cashier who's just being like tormented by someone. Wonder Woman springs into action. She's ready to defend everybody. And this is me as an adult, just kind of like, I'm spinning and like, here I am, Then with my Barbie, it's anytime I hear, you can't do that, Cheri. And then I see someone else being told they can't do that. So when they come to me and they're like, well, I shouldn't take this promotion because I just can't. What do you mean you can't? Who told you you couldn't do it? So all 3 characters in my adult world, I mean, have come out to me, whether it's grocery shopping at the office or just out and about just with random strangers. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they always appear as needed, but at the end of the day, I'm still Cheri. So like they get all of me just here for
That is amazing. That's amazing. I love that. What topic are you super passionate about and why?
empowering women. Um, I recently just started, maybe the past couple of years, going more full effect into it. Just seeing women just kind of just staying stuck in the corner and, out of the shadows. And I'm scared to have a voice. I can't even ask for a raise because, like, I'm just so just, I'm just stuck inside. My upbringing was we really couldn't do a lot.
Yeah.
Like what is in front of us is what we're going to get. In their mindset, I was supposed to be a housewife cooking dinner and making babies the rest of
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't meant to be great.
Yeah.
And I love empowering women and just reminding them. So it's like if I see any woman that's just down, I go and I just remind them, hey, you can do it. So then I just kind of started in this women and I started looking for everything that had to do with women in chemicals, women in trucking, women in the industries. It's really, I'm just so passionate about it. I've done everything I can to stay a part of that and just help it grow.
Okay, I follow you on LinkedIn, right?
Okay.
As far as what you do, I believe you're in sales. What inspired you to begin that journey and why?
So this career that I'm in right now was actually just an accidental, it's supposed to be just a temporary fill in, and I was never meant to stay in
My
this.
goodness. Wow.
I got an opportunity from a wonderful woman, Janet Johnson, rest in peace. She just passed away
Mhm.
this past year. She put me in a position that I probably had no business being in because I had no knowledge of chemicals. I mean, I had not even really explored the geographical aspects of the earth at this point. I
Wow.
knew what I learned in school, but I didn't really, I guess it was just all a book thing. So I never really lived it. So I had no idea. They didn't want to hire me. She was like, no, she's getting hired. And it just started. And I just remember sitting next to the safety guy, and I would just listen to him talk about chemicals. And I just remember like, wow, that's like a cool name. Like,
Mm.
so I kind of wanted to get interested in that. And then I seen sales and I started talking to customers, Germany, all over the world, Chile, just people were calling me and I'm like, what in the world? Like, this is cool. Like I'm meeting these different people. I'm learning these products. I'm learning this industry. What is this? And then before I knew it, I had already probably been there about a year and I see an email come across and says, let's take temporary off of her name because she's a permanent employee.
My
And I just remember
goodness.
wow. But even still, that wasn't a stepping stone because I was held under. They
Yeah.
they wanted my talent behind the scenes. They didn't want
Gotcha.
my talent out. I never met anybody. I was never, I wasn't put out there, or women
Mm.
couldn't do what I'm doing now.
Right.
And, that's what I stuck in my head. I seen all the salesmen and I was like, well, heck, I guess this is just not something that I can do. And I settled for it. But then there was a salesman within the organization who kind of, every chance he'd come into town from New Jersey, he would always like put something on me to where I
Mm.
had to shine in front of people. And he was just, I don't know, it was just really inspiring because it was like I would try to hide and he'd be like, well, Cheri did this. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? So I would have to speak and say something, but then he would leave, I'd go right back under the shelf, you
Wow.
know,
Right now, this recording is in
24.
2024.
Mhm.
So let's talk about this journey. When did this actually happen?
It
What year?
was 0506 time. So
Okay.
it was almost 20 years ago
Okay.
when I started in this,
Okay.
whenever it was like, okay, this is what it is. I knew what I was going to do. I was going to be behind the scenes, probably forever.
Yeah.
So as the years went, I actually transitioned from different roles and different companies. I ended up leaving for a couple of years because I just got frustrated, with it. I probably
What
say,
frustrated you?
I guess just I couldn't be me. It was, I was constantly getting reported to HR for being too happy. It still shocks me to this day that I have gotten reported to HR and had to sit across from an HR head to tell me you need to tone it down. Nobody wants to hear good morning, everybody, when they walk in. I was just beat because that was constant. I was written up. I was, told you're doing too much. Cheri, your skirt's too tight, and it's because I'm a thicker person and it was a pencil skirt, but it was too tight. So I was just like kept just under it. It just seemed like everything I tried to do, somebody was just pushing me back down. So I just kind of, a perfect example. I went to Walmart when I knew people from Norway were coming into my office one year. So excited, never met anyone out of the country. So I was so pumped about it. Went to Walmart, didn't have much money, went and got me a pantsuit and a nice top, some flats. Ecstatic. I am like, I am professional. I am great. This is I'm so excited just talking about it. Like I was so pumped about it. Went into the office like I was ready to just sit in there. I walked back by my supervisor's office at the time. He looks at me and he's like, you knew that we were going to have people come in today and that's what you chose to wear. And I remember it was just crazy how quick my excitement had gone into just like pure, I was just upset. Like I'm not, it just hurt because man, like I really, my pencil skirt was too tight, so I couldn't wear that, so I got pants now and I got flats and I'm wearing and it's like, it really bothered me, I was like, well, so I took myself to HR to go and ask. I knocked on the door and I'm like, hello, hi. Is what I'm wearing okay for our guest? And she looks at me and says, no, that's perfectly fine. And I was like, okay. Well, she was like, why do you think you're not why do you think so? And I said, oh, well, my supervisor told me that he couldn't believe that this is what I wore. She was like, no, you're fine. So I just remember still going to the desk and it was like, okay, I'm going to do my job. I have kids at home. This is what I got to do. I'm going to do this. And like really painful, like even now to think I had to put up with that. Like it was just so ugly because I did everything that I could to be better. So as I finally left, because I was like, they're never gonna let me be me.
So right now, I mean, you're in a different place now, but
yes.
There's someone right now, right? That's probably, I mean, they're listening right now, like, man, this is me right now. This is my world today on this podcast. How would you encourage her in that moment that she's in right now? What advice would you give to her?
If I had known then what I knew now, be happy with what you have. Don't let somebody ever take that from you. Never. The biggest mistake that I did was allow him to control that emotion on me when I should have just stood there and said, you know what? You can't have this. I was feeling good. I was looking good. You were feeling good. You were looking good. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. Don't let anybody ever take that because that's giving them power. That power, don't let anyone. So if there's anybody that is currently going through that, don't give that power, baby. You have the power yourself. You have all of it. And that's what makes them mad is because you have that power, but they just want to take that little bit you have left in there and just try to take it from you. So that's my best advice is don't give it to them. That's what they want. Don't give it.
Knowledge bomb. Thank you for that. That is really good. This is really awesome. And so you go from here. So you say you left the industry for a while. So the Cheri that walked away and the Cheri that returned, what was the difference between the two Cheris? What did you do to empower yourself? What did you do to increase your self-esteem? What did you do?
Cheri today kind of ran into a wonderful woman named Sharon McDougal. And I remember being at an event, and it was a little trucking event under the bridge. We were feeding truckers.
Uh,
And I see this loud woman come out of nowhere. She's just loud. Beautiful sister, just loud. She's like, hey, she's yelling. She's got the crazy loud colors on. And I remember looking at her like, oh, she better simmer down. Like people are gonna look at her. And she didn't even care. And I remember just like looking and just watching her. And I was like, how is she getting away with it? But that was my thought. How is she even getting away with this? Like they don't do that. They don't let us do those things.
wow.
We kind of talked during the event. It was almost like God sent her to me because I needed to hear these. I needed to hear her tell me, don't put yourself into the back for anybody. You don't hide yourself. You go out. If they can't accept you for who you are, then you don't need those people around you. You don't need the employer. You don't need the boyfriend. You don't need you need nothing. Be you. And she told me, I see you, because I had just started kind of my short hair and I didn't have the mohawk yet. I just had like the little sides done, but it was a bright red color. And she just told me that. And it was crazy because it was like, you don't think about it during it. But then as you go about your days, and probably like a couple of months later, found her on Facebook and come to find out she's a superstar living her life. I mean, she was a NASA suit tech and she dressed Mae Jameson. And I remember thinking, I seen this. I was like, first off, holy crap, I have a celebrity friend. Second, she's been this way her whole life. And her confidence never allowed anybody to keep her from doing any of that. And at that moment, I said, I'm done. I went for my first interview back into the industry and I said, I'm going to wear what I wear. They're going to see my tattoos. They're going to see me. I'm going to walk in there confident. And if I don't get it, guess what? I don't even care because I'm going to move on to the next one.
Yes.
And then if that one pushes me to the side, I will find another one that's going to like me. So I had already made up my mind. Fortunately, I had a wonderful husband that was just like, you don't even have to work, which was such a blessing because I've never been with anybody that was like, you don't have to work. I'm like, what does that even mean? Who says those things? But because of his support and the way he did that, I was able to just say, you know what, if they don't like me, I don't care. Went to that interview and I went in as Cheri. I had I had on a blazer and a Wonder Woman shirt and I had my slacks on and my heels. And I got called for a second interview. And I'm like, holy crap, wait a minute, what happened? Like, what? We really liked you. Can you come in for a second interview? And I'm like, okay. Went in for a second interview and they hired me like right before I even left. And I was like, wow, this is cool. However, with that whole going into it as positive as I did, just opened doors slowly. They weren't like huge doors at the time. I was with this job for about a year and a half. And the salesman that I mentioned earlier that was always empowering me and telling me to like, Cheri, you can do it, calls me up and says, I got a job for you. And so I left there and I went to go work back with him and do my inside sales thing. And like, it was great. It was fantastic. It was the greatest, at that point I had made more money than I had ever made, and that was after years of being in this industry. And I stayed at this base pay because I didn't think my worth was worth more than what I was making. So I stayed at it. So I made a little bit more and, I was pumped. I was excited. I was there for about a year and a half. This was 2021. I was a reference for someone else applying for the position. The gentleman called me and, he was like, I'm calling for this person, what do you think about her work? And of course, I'm just like, she's fantastic. It's great because she was a lovely girl, and he was like, you're probably more qualified for this position. And then here comes this crazy Cheri saying, well, if I had applied, she wouldn't have had a chance. Now would she? And I was like, oh my God, did I just say that? Like, and I just remember thinking that, did that just come out of your mouth? Like the audacity of you
Yeah.
saying this. He kind of giggled, left it alone. I referred her, and then probably like 2 or 3 days later, he sends a message and says, "Can I interview you?" And I'm like, I don't care. Like, so where I was so okay with being in this bubble that I didn't even care if he wanted to interview me. I stuck myself in it. I was content with my position. I didn't care about it. I had already made more money, like I said, so it was like I was better.
Yeah.
So I said, fine, that's okay. I remember setting up the interview and I told him, all right, I'm heading to go see Snoop Dogg here in short time. I got to drive to Dallas. We could do this interview. Him and another gentleman was on the call. They did the interview and I was just me. I did not hold back. I let me be me. I was vocal. I was confident. Let them know if you did hire me, it'd be your best investment, but it's up to you. I'm going to see Snoop. I'm out, and
Mm.
it was like, I'm thinking, at the end of this interview, it's just like, it's Easter weekend. You probably won't hear from us for about a week and a half. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Again, I'm in my bubble. I don't really care. So through the weekend, not even through the weekend, I get a phone call and I'm just not feeling well. So he says, may I text you? And it was probably 2 days later. So it was a Sunday night. And text me 2 days later and says, this is how serious we are about having you. And I remember even looking at my husband, like, do you see this? Is this correct? Please tell me this is correct. Is this correct? Oh my God, no. And he's just like, I think it is. And I just remember like, no way, no way. So I told him I'll speak with you, Monday. We kind of got on the phone and I'm thinking to myself the whole time, like, why do you want me? And it's unfortunate. Women are probably sitting out there thinking the same thing and missing so many opportunities because
No.
you're like, why do you want me? Because I'm not good. I'm not this, I'm not that. So I remember thinking that. So it took me like probably a whole week. And I was just like, man, it was just going back and forth. My husband looks at me and says, they wouldn't have asked if they didn't think you were worth it. And I was like, I mean, you say that, but he's always pushed me. He's
Yeah.
always like been my biggest freaking fan. Like he's my fan for life. And I finally went to my boss and I told my boss what was happening. And she was like, if you don't take it, I will. Know your worth. I left it alone. And the one person I was so afraid to tell was that salesman who gave me that job. I was so terrified to tell him. I told him last. I finally had a Teams meeting with him. And all he did was say, F you for leaving, but it's about damn time you found out your worth. That was his words. Like, it's about damn time you realize your worth. And I'm like, all these years, like you did. He says, why would I have told you how good you were if you was doing all my work? And I was like, wow.
Wow.
That was a truth bomb. Like it just kind of like the way he said it. And I wasn't mad. I wasn't, but he had a point. I was okay with keeping myself in the bubble. Why would you tell me I can go and be better if I'm keeping myself in this bubble? So I took this position and I don't know, the supervisor that I had, Cedric, like he was probably my biggest fan. I have never had someone bring out all my power the way he did. I remember calling him, and telling him, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. And he was like, I don't need to know all that. I trust you. And I'm like, that's how I was though in my mind. I'm like, you do? Like, what do you mean? And I just remember still trying to tell him, and he had to come and say, if you don't stop texting me everything that you're doing, I know you're doing it. I see you're putting it in there. You're getting your results. And and I just remember like, well, who's going to tell me what to do? And he's like, you're going to tell you what to do.
Amazing.
And I was like, wow. So it took me probably a good 6 months before I stopped harassing my boss, and telling him every single detail of my day because I was just so scared. Well, I'm going to lunch. Why are you telling me you're going? Cheri, what are you doing? I'm gonna leave like 2 minutes early. If you don't stop telling me what you're doing. I trust you. So it took me such a long time to realize, wow, like he trusts you, because you don't find that. Nobody's ever trusted me.
Yeah.
Nobody in my industry, nobody.
How do you feel now that Cheri has been resuscitated?
Honestly, how I feel now, I know my worth. Like you can't take it from me. I'm not going to be bullied anymore. I'm not going to allow someone to tell me that I'm not doing well enough anymore, or I can do better, because you know what? I'm doing the best I can, and I'm giving 110% of everything that I give, whether it's work, play, advice, anything like that. This Cheri, I'm not going to say she doesn't care, but she doesn't care about that BS anymore. As much and empowered as Cheri is, that scared little Cheri from all those
Yeah.
years ago is
Yeah.
still ready to just kind of cower
Yeah.
and just say, okay, like I can't
Yeah.
do it. So
Yeah.
this Cheri now, I'm very vocal now. I,
Yeah.
I say things. If you're trying to intimidate me or bully me, I'm gonna speak up and I'm gonna tell you, hey, no, I'm doing what I can. We can brainstorm together and solve some problems, but you're not gonna tell me that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, and you're not gonna tell me that I need to do better, because I'm giving you my all. I'm giving you everything that I have. So I think my thing is people don't even really understand the difference between being a boss and a leader in like the work industry or anywhere. Your bosses just want to tell you what you need to do. Your
Yeah.
bosses are just speaking just to say I can speak because my title is better than yours.
Yeah.
I want to send this email to tell you what you're already doing because it makes me feel better inside because I'm telling you what to do. Meanwhile, you're probably just not even on my level, and you're just trying to make me feel bad, and you're not going to. A leader is inspiring people and pushing them. I have a current supervisor right now who does nothing but inspire me. He always pushes me to the front. So with that, it's crazy how men in the industry kind of kept me in my bubble, but men in the industry are pushing me now to like be better. So it's crazy. So I can't, it's like I went through this struggle, but now just these men are like, just like, no, like you should have never been held back, like it's, and currently I work for a German company, which is a wonderful family company. I love this company, but I remember being scared because I was like, what if they don't like me? And then I had to
Yeah.
come back and say, if they don't like you, they don't like you, but be confident.
Yeah.
And they don't keep me down. Even the company, everybody's just so supportive of my growth. Like there's just
I see it.
Opportunities that they give me to help me. Yeah, like it's like my brand is me, but it's also bringing LaShaco everything that they have. So like my company is wonderful. Like I'm truly blessed to have been hired and surrounded by so many wonderful people. So I mean that's just, I mean, that's about.
I mean, I hate to hear that happened to you.
Yeah.
But if that wouldn't have happened to you, exactly, what you're doing now, trying to empower women, wouldn't even be an idea in your head, because you wouldn't even feel women need to be empowered. So hats off to you and what you're doing right now. And I know that this women empowerment is going to blow up. Just your voice helping women and helping men. So sis, keep doing what you're doing. Keep shouting loud, blowing the horn. This is so amazing. If someone wants to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
They can always find me on my LinkedIn. It is under Cheri Kauffman. There are a couple of them, but just look for mine. I'm in my animal print top and my red lipstick. You can't miss me right there on the profile. And then, of course, you can email me and call me on those numbers that are listed on there. And I'm always available. And that's one thing I want to say. There's women out there that are listening and you just need somebody that's been there. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn, call that number, email me. I'm going to answer. I'm going to make sure that you are not alone, and girl, it's going to get better. You just got to keep that positivity up and like keep moving forward with what you're doing. And That's all I got.
On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us.
Thanks for having me.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Lead to Greatness podcast. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.